Hi, everyone. This is Michele Graglia.
This is Marianne Hogan.
Hi, I'm Adrian McDonald.
I'm Katie Asmith.
Hi, this is Anthony Gasals.
Hi, my name is Meg Morgan.
Hey, it's Jordan Trove.
This is John Ray.
This is Ryan Van Duzer, and you are listening to the Gotta Run Racing Podcast.
Hey everyone, we're back with another GottaRunPodcast.
Hello, hello.
You still got your tan on.
I do. We were away for a bit. We went to Morocco and Madeira, and we came back just in time for the biggest snowstorm ever in many, many years in Ontario. And feels like we never went away.
Yes, I shoveled my driveway 6 times in 1 week.
Oh, boy. Well, we had fun.
Yeah, we had fun. Lots of fun. We
rode a camel.
Rode a camel in Morocco, first time in Africa.
That's right. We ate some amazing food. We hiked in Madeira.
On the actual MIUT trail.
That's right. We did that indeed. What a beautiful place.
Yeah, I would love to run across that island one day.
That would be cool. Extremely mountainous. You're either going up or you're going down.
Yeah, there's no flats.
Nothing. Nothing is flat in that whole friggin' island.
The only thing that's flat is the water.
The ocean.
What's happening in the world of Gotta Run Racing?
Well, of course, we have our 2 events open for registration on Race Roster. That is Rainbow Trail Run coming up in June, and the 13th Annual Island Lake Classic in Island Lake Conservation Area on Labor Day Monday.
And, of course, we run the North.
Our virtual national park series.
Which is going pretty good.
It is. It is. We have, I think, 1 province sold out so far. And this will be the final time we'll be releasing the We Run the North virtual. So if you've always wanted to try it, sign up today because quantities are quite limited. They are a beautiful metal and matching license plate race bib, and they really are quite spectacular.
Yeah, it keeps you motivated during these harsh times of winter.
Sure do.
Get out there and do a 10K run somewhere in the world.
All right.
So who's on the podcast today?
Today we have Sam Harvey, 31-year-old ultra runner from New Zealand. And in the past couple years, he has racked up some impressive wins. In 2023, he came second to Harvey Lewis in the Backyard Ultra with a total of 677 kilometers. He's also New Zealand's 2-time backyard champion. Last year, he was second at Tarawera 100 mile. He also won the Ultra-Trail Kosciuszko 100 in Australia. And he's fresh off his win at Tarawera 100 a couple weeks ago. It's been a while since we chatted with someone who raced Tarawera.
Yeah, I think it was maybe 3 years ago, Mike Jolie.
Right.
Episode 30.
30, that's right. Sam is also an endurance coach, and we'll ask him about that. So let's get to know Tarawera's newest and New Zealand's first champion, Sam Harvey.
Wow, yeah, it's going to be interesting because we're chatting with him today, but in fact, it's going to be tomorrow morning for him.
That's right.
So we're chatting to someone in the future.
Ooh.
Maybe we can
get him to tell us what's going to happen.
It's just weird how that works.
It sure is.
All right, here's Sam Harvey coming up. Well, welcome, Sam, to the podcast, and big congrats on winning Tarawera.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Here in Canada, we're going through the worst winter in recent years, and I was wondering if you could just please tell us briefly how the weather is in New Zealand right now.
Well, for the most part, it's been really good, but I probably experiencing the worst summer that I have had where I live, and as long as I can remember, it hasn't been a hot, dry summer, which would be typical of my region. It's been pretty, intermittent with a lot of cloud cover and a fair bit of unseasonal rain, and so my location hasn't been quite as nice as I would like it to be this time of year. So the hills are a lot greener than they would typically be. Usually this time of year it's quite scorched. Everything's quite brown, but no, everything's green at the moment. So it's been nice for running because you can run it all hours of the day, no problem. But at the same time, I would have liked a few more sunshine hours.
Yeah, for sure.
We don't see the sun from November to April, pretty much. We live in the grayest province of the country. It's awful.
Yeah, I've dabbled with moving to different parts of of the world, and Canada has not been on that list.
Well, that's sad because I feel like we're sort of cousins in a way that we're both the younger sibling to a much bigger country closely related to us.
Yeah, you could look at that way. Yeah, I don't know. Canada would be maybe all right for 4 or 5 months of the year for me, but then I would have to move.
Exactly. We're looking into that. It's hard not to be active in New Zealand. I think that's where adventure racing started. Have you ever dabbled in adventure racing or any other sport other than running?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of multi-sport and adventure racing. I've done adventure racing in China and New Zealand. I honestly, I've thrown my hat in the ring for almost any sport that I can get my hands on. So, yeah, adventure racing, multi-sport, duathlon, triathlon, mountain bike racing, boxing, rugby, surfing. Wow. Yeah, everything.
Do you come from an athletic family?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Not a professionally athletic family, but yeah, we've definitely been doing a lot of sport my entire life. And yeah, Dad played rugby league for New Zealand when he was a teenager, and I've got uncles that are elite cyclists, and yeah, lots of things like that.
That helps. Now, we want to talk first about a race you're going to have to help me pronounce. I think it's Kosciuszko, the Ultra-Trail in Australia. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Ultra-Trail Kosciuszko, or Mount Kosciuszko in Australia, which is the tallest mountain in mainland Australia.
Can you tell us about that race, a little bit about it? Because we hadn't heard of it previous to seeing it on your bio.
Yeah, for sure. So I raced that in November. It's in the snowy mountains in Australia, which is a bit of a, I don't know, it's a slightly funky location because to get there, you've got to fly to Canberra, which is the capital of Australia. And then once you fly into Canberra, you've then got to drive 2 hours to even get to the snowy mountains. So it's a bit of a hike.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't fly directly to Canberra. So you've got to fly into like Sydney or something and then have a transfer flight into Canberra. And then you've got to pick up a car and then you've got to drive 2 hours. And I don't know. That's...
Wait, why'd you pick this race?
It's a little bit of admin. I was just part of the UTMB series, and I'm trying to be as diverse an ultra marathon runner as I possibly can be.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that made sense. Australia's near enough for here, and yeah, I figured it was something that I could probably go over and do pretty well at, and I was going over with the intention of winning it. It all made sense.
You won that race by 3 hours, which is pretty impressive. But I noticed that there was some sort of time penalty was that 2 hour time penalty? What is that about, the time penalty?
Yeah, so it was maybe not quite 10 hours into the race. So I think I was just past the 100-kilometer mark, and they stopped us due to an electrical storm. So a big lightning storm came through, and I would say roughly 8,000 meters, 8 kilometers of that race across the tops of the mountains is run on like a steel grated walkway. So it's elevated a couple of feet above the vegetation. I think it's like to protect the native vegetation from people walking on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's quite nice. Running on all this nice metal walkway, going through pristine landscapes, but at the same time, all of that's a massive lightning conductor, and so if you get an electrical storm come through, it poses a high danger to people who are out on course. So when this severe storm came through, they basically had to shut the course down for 2 hours. So once you got into an aid station, like that was it. You had to stay at that aid station until further notice. There are a number of people that got caught out on course during that period of time. And
scary.
They hunkered down wherever they were. But yeah, so they stopped us for 2 hours, which isn't typical in any race. And then they let us go again, and they basically just subtracted that 2 hour stop from our total time.
Right. Interesting. Well, I'm sure you were glad you weren't on the bridge at the time that happened.
Yeah, I was well ahead of that, so that was kind of over the top of the mountain where you're about 2,200 meters above sea level. I think at that point, so you're quite highly elevated. I had already gone through that section and come further down, but yeah, to make it fair on everybody, they stopped everybody at every point on the course.
Right. Wow. Can you tell us about another race that you did recently, which is, I guess, a new festival, the Running Spectacle? You participated in the 50K. What's that one all about?
Yeah, so the Spectacle, yeah, I guess it's New Zealand's newest running festival. They have everything from a road mile, so like an elite 1 mile that they run around the center of the town, right through to a 100-mile trail race. So it's a little bit of a hybrid event. It's quite cool because I've never been to a running event where they have short course road events at the same time as running long course trail events.
Right.
Yeah, it was very cool. And they shut down the whole of the central township. And so the race is finishing in the town. Nelson is New Zealand's sunniest town. So it's quite a pretty location. It's a really cool place to run a race. And yeah, they brought me along with a number of Olympic athletes in to be their ambassadors for their race. And in the first year of its running, it was a very successful event. Hopefully they can keep it running, because I know they spent a fair whack putting it on. But I'm sure in 2025 it'll be their second year of its running, and yeah, they should attract a lot of runners, because it was a very cool weekend.
Would you say it's a good introduction to New Zealand trails in terms of the ultra distances?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty hard race. There's some very technical aspects to it. So it pays to be a true trail runner if you're gonna come and attack that thing, because yeah, I would argue that the 100-mile course was probably one of the hardest 100-mile courses, if not the hardest 100-mile course that we have in New Zealand now.
Oh wow!
Okay.
Yeah, some good elevation gain, along with some very technical trails. Like even in the 50K course, we went through a section where I think you maybe crossed through twice on the 100-mile course, and me and the other two guys in the top three, who are very good trail racers, there was a couple of gnarly sections where we were going at a snail's pace, just trying not to trip over and break our faces. So yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah. But very sunny, very warm, maybe a little bit too warm for some people. It got pretty hot. But yeah, a nice spot to go for a run. And then you're in a very nice region once you're in Nelson to have a bit of a holiday. You're not going to just go there for the race. You're going to go there to get some sunshine and take in some nice views elsewhere.
Is it which part of the island? North, south?
So it's the top of the South Island.
Top of the South. Okay.
Very nice.
We'll put it on our list.
Yeah.
When we get to New Zealand.
Yeah, our list is getting very long after we keep chatting to people in our pod. It's never ending.
You can pretty much skip the North Island, go straight to the South Island if you're looking for views, and then just, yeah.
Good to know.
spend a couple of weeks in the South Island, and you won't be disappointed.
Okay, check.
Okay, let's chat Tarawera. You ran this a couple of times, so you pretty much knew the course. And last year you came second to American Adrian McDonald, who we did chat to on our podcast. But he dropped down to the 100K. Were you disappointed that you didn't have a rematch with him?
No, not at all. He's enticed by that golden ticket and what you got to get into Western States. I'm interested in Western States, but yeah, it doesn't light a fire under me at this point in time. There's certain things that I'm interested in, and there's certain things that I'm not. And at the moment, I'm not going to go out of my way to try and get a golden ticket.
Oh, okay.
The 100-mile distance and greater is kind of where I have the most fun. Yeah, I was sticking with my 100-mile race category, and yeah, I basically been aiming for the win since last year. last year I was aiming to win, but like didn't know if I could do it. And then I came second and ran more than 30 minutes faster than I was aiming for. And I figured, okay, I can do this. I'll keep coming back until I get the win. That only took another year, so that was cool.
Very good.
Did you change your game plan going in this year or anything major differently in your training?
Yeah, I ramped up my training a fair bit. I was doing, I wouldn't say I was doing a more volume, but I was doing a greater volume of high speed stuff. So I was going, like typically in training, the fastest I might be moving is like 2 minutes 50 to 2 minutes 55 per kilometer, where I ramped up training to like some of my workouts being like 2 minutes 20 to 2 minutes 30 per kilometer. So way faster. And then I was just doing a hell of a lot more of that really fast stuff, which ended up being a little bit too much. I think I was going too fast for too long, and ended up with some lower limb stress. I'm not sure if I would say injuries, but like pre-injuries. So I was going fast and training at a high volume just to make myself faster for race day, which I think it paid off in the end. But yeah, going into the race this year, I just wanted to be cool, calm, and collected. Do a lot of what I had done do a lot of what I had done right last year, and just replicate that.
Right.
I've done a lot of mountain bike racing and a lot of running in the Rotorua area, so I'm very at home on those trails, and so that gives me a little bit of a home field advantage, I think, especially over the international runners, and helps me to know when to make moves in certain areas, or like what's coming up and whether to push or whether to ease back, that kind of thing. As far as my race plan went, like I was aiming for an overall course record, because Tarawera for the last, I think it's nearly 10 years that the 100-mile event has been running. Almost every year they change the course because of massive landslide somewhere, and then like permissions from local iwi, what parcels of land they can use or can't use. And so it's very rarely that you're on the same course. And then this year's course, it was different to last year's course in the fact that a lot of the stuff we ran last year, we ran it in reverse this year. And this year is arguably like the closest to the original course that there's been in a very long time. However, I wanted the course record for that course, but I also wanted the overall course record out of any variant of what's been run there. And Zach Miller 2 years ago, he ran at 14:41 on a very alternate course where we ran like 2 loops of the forest, which has never been done before or again. And so I was just aiming to try and do a 14:41 or faster on the course that we were on. But with the field that we had, like we had some really elite runners. We had 4 really good runners from Japan, and then a couple of other good guys who were in the elites. I had to be a little bit more aggressive. I couldn't start conservatively and aim for the negative splits that I would have liked to. And instead, I had to push hard, beat a few guys up, ruin their day, mop up the mess.
Tell us about the first 50K.
Yeah, first 50K was hard and fast. A lot of it on single trail, where last year a lot of the first 50K was on open forestry roads, so just like a lot easier to run. I also think we accumulated a lot more vertical gain in that period of time. I think by the time we hit the marathon mark or the 50K mark, we'd done over 1,000 meters of vertical.
Wow.
And as a result, when we hit the marathon distance, we were 15 minutes slower to that point than I had been hitting that point last year. However, we were still pushing pretty fast, like coming along a couple of the road sections. We were doing low 4-minute Ks, and I think that worried a few lads, like both Japanese and non-Japanese. You can see lads looking at their watches with wide eyes. One of the Japanese lads, Yutaro, he runs for Essex, Japan. I think he has a 2:14 marathon. So so he was pushing the pace on the runnable stuff in the opening, and that started to worry a few people, including me. But yeah, it must have been just around the 50-kilometer mark, which is when you do the boat crossing of one of the lakes, about a 2-minute boat ride, and 7 of us got there all at the same time.
I was wondering if you would like to have a beer on that boat ride with a bunch of your fellow runners as you're crossing the boat. It's too bad you can't, eh?
Yeah, it's a very scenic ride. Like it would be a nice place for a beer. But yeah, that's just a 2-minute opportunity to regroup, rehydrate, check what's going on in your running vest, maybe get any rocks out of your shoes, and get ready to run again when you get off the boat.
Yeah.
So was there 7 of you within the cluster the whole time of the 50K by the time you got to the boat, or were you kind of flip-flopping with the other guys? Well,
I mean, there would have been a couple of other guys maybe for the first 20 kilometers, maybe even 30 kilometers. But for a good chunk leading into the 50K mark, there was 7 of us, four Japanese runners, then myself and Simon Cochran, another Kiwi, and then a fella called Ryan Wellen. I think he's from the UK, but he races mostly in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
So that was our lead bunch. And yeah, once we crossed the lake, then we were running along a dirt track through a dairy farm for a couple of kilometers, and then it opens onto the paved road section, which last year we had 16 kilometers of running on that paved road section.
Wow.
So I thought we were just doing that the same in reverse this year, but we were we might not have even been on that road for 1,000 meters before we then dipped into the forestry. But it was at that point where I kind of just started to pick up the pace a little bit, not intending to make a break, but I could feel that everybody was like, I don't know, taking it a little bit too easier than I would have liked. And so I picked up the pace to what effort I would have liked to have been running at. And that just kind of slowly turned into a bit of a gap. I wasn't looking, but I could hear the conversation between some of the lads. It was just getting a little bit further and further away. So
right.
I could feel the group breaking up. So I just carried on. I think a couple of the Japanese boys came with me, but yeah, that gap had very much started to open up. And then as we ended up in forestry, there was an aid station, and I was very quick through that aid station whilst others stopped. And that probably led to about a 60-second lead between me and the next guy. And I figured, right, I've got my opening now. Time to put some acid on, and started to progressively increase that lead. The Japanese runners over the next couple of miles, I think, answered my call and tried to
rein you in.
Rein me in, which they did somewhat. But once we were out of the forestry, then we went through a fair bit of dairy farm, through open pastures and along gravel tracks. And it wasn't long after they'd caught me that they soon fell off the pace, and I never saw another runner again for the rest of the race.
Wow. So what K mark would that be at?
So I made the break at about 50 kilometers, and maybe by 55 kilometers, I never saw another runner, I don't think.
Wow. Jeez. When did you pick up your pacer then? What K marker was that?
Have you guys checked out our merch via our website, GottaRun Racing? We have some really cool swag, including the mugs that, if you've watched our YouTube video, that we drink with. Cool red mug with a cork bottom. It keeps liquids nice and cold or warm. What else do we have on there, Norm?
Well, we have our shirts that I'm wearing.
That's right. You can either choose from GottaRunPodcast or GottaRun Racing. You can also find our 20-liter dry bags, which are a steal at $25. Perfect for using at drop-off bag at an aid station. We've got flasks. We also have cooling multifunctional neckwear, which is a fancy word for a cooling buff. Has the GottaRun Racing and podcast logos on it. Not to mention, we have the affiliate links for the 3 companies, for the 3 brands that we are affiliated with, that being Air Relax, Compression Therapy, Caffeine Bullet, and Kinesis Sunscreen. So by following those links, you can access exclusive discounts. So do check that out. GottaRunRacing.com.
So for Tarawera, you're allowed to pick up a pacer at 120 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
So you have them for the last marathon.
So between when you took the break of 55K to when you picked up your pacer, what was it like there by yourself running?
Looking over your shoulder?
Like,
or?
Were you afraid?
I tried not to look over my shoulder too much. I just tried to hammer as much as I could. It was, I don't know, it was quite invigorating because like I felt good. And as I said, I'd overdone my training in the lead up to the race and therefore had to have a bit of an extended taper. I was feeling pretty tender in the legs, even the days before the race. And so I wasn't super sure of how things were going to go, but everything was going well. So it made me feel pretty good about the situation. And yeah, I just charged on, trying to extend my lead as much as I physically could. Eventually, like I'd been solo for long enough that I was like, yeah, I need to not be, I don't know, thinking too much or running to the sound of my footsteps too much. So I pulled out my phone and put some music on blast and just had that playing out loud. So I just had a bit of company and I could have a bit of a party as I was running through the forest. And then I can't remember what distance it was at, but eventually we joined course with the 100K runners. And so at that point, initially I am crossing paths with like the 100K walkers or like the slower people at the back of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm charging through them, but that's probably, if not my favorite part of the race, it's definitely up there as being one of my favorite parts of the race. If you're at the front of the pack, because otherwise you could have a very lonely 10 hours if you are the front runner and nobody goes with you. But as soon as you start crossing paths with the other courses, then there's a little bit of camaraderie and yeah. Like
Nice.
they cheer you on and you tell them they're doing a good job and yeah, it becomes a lot less lonely. So then I started passing all the 100K walkers and runners and such and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you'd almost feel like you were just on another training run.
It can feel like that sometimes.
Yeah. Wow.
So what do you prefer? Do you prefer to be chased or do the chasing?
No one likes a target painted on their back, but at the same time, in this particular one, I wasn't running scared. I was running with a sense of domination, with a sense of purpose. I've definitely run races where I've been looking over my shoulder a fair bit. Like Tarawera last year, even though I came second, and there was a couple of times where I really closed the gap on Adrian. At no point in time was I ever trying to win it. Like I'd counted myself out of that before the race even started, because at that point in time, I think Adrian had been running a 2:17 marathon or something. And for me, that was just like out of this world. And so I didn't think I could compete with him. So even when I chased him down at the boat ride last year and made him do the lake crossing with me in the same boat, at that point in time, I was like, yo, I'm going to get second. And that was still with like 100 kilometers left in the race. And that entire race from that point on I was just running scared, trying to not let whoever was in third place catch me because I just wanted to come second.
Right.
So for a lot of that race, I was running scared and running very effectively scared. Where this race, I was just, putting the hammer on and trying to dominate and wasn't so worried about looking over my shoulder. If I was it would really depend on what the field was. I think I'd weighed it up that I was the dominant party in that race. But if I knew that there were dangerous people to look out for that were chasing me down, I might feel like I was being hunted a little bit more and not be so comfortable.
Well, congratulations on being the very first Kiwi to win Tarawera.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And along the way, coming into the finish line, your pacer must be telling you, you got this, right? You got this. So what was that feeling like?
It's funny, like the better I do at these things, the less it hits home in the moment. Like, yes, it was a special occasion, but at the same time, like I've been hurting for the last 50 kilometers of the race. So I was just like,
Get this over with.
One of those feelings of why do I do this to myself?
Oh, we've all had that feeling.
So it didn't really sink in until like a couple of days later, once I had regained some of my body weight and some energy.
Very good.
Well,
But yeah, a massive relief, because I think with Miller Aid Station must have been like, I don't know, 30 kilometers ago, maybe. And I came through there and I wasn't doing so well. And I think my 26-minute lead dropped to only 4 minutes. So I really had slowed, and Simon had rallied, and I was a bit worried. Like I thought I'd stuffed it up. But with maybe 20 kilometers to go, I pulled my game together and rallied and sent it home nice and hard and emptied the tank. And so I think the 4-minute gap turned to a 6-minute gap, turned to a 12-minute gap, and I finished with like a 16-minute lead. So I managed to regain like nearly quarter of an hour over the space of the next 20 kilometers, which was good. So that was a relief coming along the Sulphur Flats. There's one last aid station with I think 5 kilometers to go or 7 kilometers to go, and my crew waited there to see when the next guy would come through. And I think they said they'd been waiting there for, was it something like 10 minutes before they left. So they'd been waiting there for 10 minutes. They're like, yeah, still no sign. And at that point, there was a lot of relief. I was still trying to send it across the Sulphur Flats and not stuff it up at the last minute. But I knew that if he was 10 minutes behind at that aid station, like he'd have to be running like 3-minute kilometers in order to even come close to catching me, which wasn't going to happen.
No, not in that late stage.
Wow. Very good. Now, you did say you're not interested in Western States and the golden ticket, but just get the rules clarified here. The golden ticket is for the 100K only and not the 100-miler. Is that right?
Correct. The 100K. The 100K is the flagship race of Tarawera. It was always the longest distance race up until they started holding the 100-mile event like nearly 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And for the 100K event, they typically have 2 golden tickets for the top 2 males and females to go to Western States.
So you're not even going to bother putting your name in the hat, even though you could. You're not going to bother doing that then.
No, I'll keep on throwing my name in the lottery for Western States, and maybe in 15 years I'll get my name pulled out of the hat. But yeah, like there's a lot of races around the world, and at the moment I'm interested more in other ones. And you can only do so many big ultra marathons within a year. So yeah, I'm just focusing on the ones that I'm interested in at the moment. And if States pops up at some point and somehow I get an entry, then yeah, cool.
Right.
Nothing's constant. Like I may tick off all of my big goals in the next 12 months and think, okay, what's next? Well, I haven't raced States yet, and then all of a sudden that might become a priority, and then I'll start hunting golden tickets like every other man and his dog.
Well, speaking of goals, you did post your top 3 goals for this year on Instagram, which is to win and break the record at Backyard Ultra and to place top 20 at UTMB, which are some pretty awesome goals considering your past record at Backyard. But we're curious about UTMB only because Norm's run it and we are more familiar with that event. But are you heading to the Alps early to acclimatize yourself to that area of the world?
Yeah, I'll probably it's high on my to-do list to book my flights and start planning some accommodation so it doesn't end up costing me a new mortgage to go and do that, because I know it's pretty spendy to go to Chamonix. But yeah, I will probably spend at least a month in Europe that time of year. It's not super nice where I live at that part of the year, so I might as well escape and go have a bit of a holiday, experience some nice weather, and get acclimated to that elevation and that terrain, and just get a little bit more at home on those trails.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to running against or with someone at UTMB, or you can't wait I can't see what I do against this guy or girl?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if I've ever said this on a podcast, but I haven't been super interested in UTMB. I was a few years back when I, like 2022, when I was like, I'm going to become a professional ultramarathon runner. And then I laid out my career path of like, okay, to become a professional ultramarathon runner, to become one of the best in the world, what do I need to do? Well, I need to get world records. I need to get national records, national championships, and world championships. And UTMB was one of those world championships. So I placed that on the calendar, and then I reverse engineered how I was going to get there, and I chose all my races leading up to it. That being said, like, I love France. I've been to France a few times. France is my second language. French is my second language. But there are other races that I'm more excited about. I'm sure I will be very excited about racing in Chamonix in the moment, but it kind of just feels like part of the process. Like, I'm very engaged in the process of doing all these races and having all these experiences, and that's kind of the end of the road for the UTMB series or trail racing as such. So yeah, I'm excited for an adventure because it'll be a new race in a new place. I've spent a fair bit of time in France, but I've never been to the Alps. I've never been to Chamonix, and I'm sure me being a running festival head, going to a place like that at that time of year with all the all the fireworks that goes with UTMB, I'm sure I'll have a fun time. So I'm looking forward to that. As far as racing with some bigwigs, yeah, it'll be nice to show up and throw down and maybe, I guess, surprise myself, because the novelty of surprise is always a big one for me. And when I can turn up and, I don't know, throw punches with some people who have much bigger names than me, who have been in the sport longer and kind of built themselves up to be able to throw down and hold my own is a very nice feeling. So that's probably going to be one of the things to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Very good. You mentioned some big races. What's big race you want to do here in Canada? Do you know any big races here in Canada?
Yeah. So,
I don't want to put you on the spot.
So I would like to come over and win Canadian Death Race.
Nice. Yes. Perfect.
I honestly don't know many races apart from that. I need to explore a bit more. As I say, there's so many ultra marathons around the world. It's hard to learn. There's only so much time, and there's only so much cartilage in my knees.
Funny enough, the Canadian Death Race was my very first ultra 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a good one. Still out there.
Absolutely.
Still going strong.
And I wanted to add, too, when you were talking about how UTMB wasn't necessarily still on your to-do list, is the fact that even 20 years ago, when Norm started ultra running, that was still the benchmark race. You got to get to UTMB and you got to get to Western.
Yeah.
And even though it took him all this time to get there, you still felt the obligation to go do it because of the name, right? It's like doing Boston as a road runner. Mm-hmm. But the reality is there are more races that would hold more weight because of how they've expanded and different parts of the world and what you get to experience. Whereas the UTMB experience may not be unique anymore the way that it used to be. Uh-huh. You know,
I would rather do Tarawera than UTMB now.
Yeah.
I like new experiences and yeah, I like to collect new races. I will try to do as many new races and new locations that I haven't done this year. I do find when I'm doing races that I've done multiple times before and making a calendar of that, it definitely turns my job into a job where my job is more my passion and I like to keep it that way. I found, was it 2023? I ran like 5 backyard ultras, a number of other ultra marathons, and like by the time I was hitting the end of the year doing world championships, I was just like not enjoying it so much anymore because like there's nothing new and exciting about the experience. I'm trying to keep it fun.
Got it.
Well, you should delve a little more into what Canada has to offer, especially out west, because I think you would love the Rockies, and there are some pretty gnarly races out there. But I can understand it is a whole day away, and you may not get here for a couple of years, but there's some races worthy of your talents, let me tell you.
Yeah, you'd be traveling back in time to get here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not that big a hike. My wife's American. I've spent a lot of my time in America, and neither of us have been to Canada yet. So it's definitely on our list of things to do, places to go. And
nice.
Yeah, I'm sure. Nice. Other than Death Race, there's probably some other stuff that you've got on offer.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, let's move on to your coaching. Tell us about your coaching and how do you approach a new ultra runner who wants to be coached by you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've got a bit of an open door policy as far as I bring on everybody and everyone. Like, doesn't matter the ability. I have beginners through to elites. I have people who are aiming for world records and best in world and things like that. And then I also have people who have just done a couch to 5K app and they're wanting to do a half marathon. And I'm like, cool, you're going to do a 50K in 3 months time. Sound good? Cool.
Sounds good.
Where can runners find you online, Sam?
Yes, I operate pretty heavily through my Instagram, which is samharvey_cloudlander. And then my website, which is more or less just a website for making bookings with me. And that's samharveyultra.com.
Okay.
Yeah, I like on your Instagram how you during the race you're posting videos as you're running the race. Not too many elite runners do that because they're too focused on time. But you're saying, I got time here. I got time.
Yeah. If somebody can develop an easier method for me to be doing that, all ears, because it is very hard to do what I do during a race. And I have noticed as I've pushed further and further into the elite space and trying to just get those little like 0.5% gains out of my performances, it becomes extremely hard to record content and edit and post. And I've noticed with like the few seconds that I will lose. Like the first post that I did at Tarawera was the sun had risen. I typically wait until the sun's risen because otherwise just the shit video.
Yeah.
I had broken away for the first time from the main pack. I'd started recording, and in the time that it took me to record, fiddle around, slow down to not fall over on the trail, the main group fought me again. I was like, can't be doing that too often. Yeah. in another race where I might be going a little bit slow, like I might post a dozen times during a race and keep everybody updated on what's going on. But yeah, when you're driving the nail as hard as I've been doing lately, it becomes pretty counterproductive to pull your phone out and be doing content.
Yeah, you need a video editor who can keep your pace to do it all for you.
Exactly. Is Cloudlander a Kiwi term for a mountain runner, or is that did you come up with that?
That's my personal brand. I think that started when I was doing, I don't know, artworks and stuff when I was a kid. And I would do my little scribble at the bottom and I would write Cloudlander. And I don't know, it's just something I've held on to my whole life. But I guess like New Zealand's the land of the long white cloud. And that's where I'm from. So I'm Cloudlander. I live up in the sky. So I'm up in the clouds.
I love it.
That's just my little thing.
I love it. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. But before we let you go, we like to do a little rapid fire questions to end our podcast. So if you're up for it.
Let's go. Okay.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, hit me with a hard one, why don't you? I'm more of a sorbet man.
Oh, gelato?
No, sorbet is like more fruit juice that's been turned into an ice cream. So there's no dairy in it.
Cream.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, what's your favorite sorbet flavor then?
So like something like berry or citrus, like something fresh and summery.
Okay.
Mhm.
Got it. Would you rather be a professional writer, painter, or musician?
Musician.
Yeah, I can see that rock star in you.
All right. You're running on the trail. You stub your toe. How do you curse in New Zealand slang?
Oh. I have probably a little bit of undiagnosed Tourette's or something. So I don't even need to stub my toe for profanity to be coming out, and my profanity is pretty next level. So I'm not going to damage your podcast with what comes out of my mouth.
Okay, fair enough. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yep.
Yes?
Yeah, 100%.
You know that was invented by a Canadian. Believe it or not.
All one for the Canadians then.
If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to and why?
Oh, great question. Whenever the pyramids were built.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. You know what? You're my new best friend.
Conspiracy theories.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. And I'm sure they were great runners back then, too.
Oh, I bet. All right, Norm, final question.
Pick a superpower that you'd like to have.
Flight.
To fly around? Oh, yeah. It's a common one. It's popular.
It is.
I actually had one period in time where I was very capable of controlling my dreams.
Oh.
And once I realized I was in a dream, I could just switch on, basically. I can do whatever I want, and I would just be like, sweet, we're flying now. And
really?
yeah, those were some fun dreams, but I've lost that.
Ah, interesting.
I thought you were going to pick time travel so you could travel back to the pyramids just to see it for a while.
Yeah, that would be up there. That would be up there.
Well, we're going to get together now.
So you can see us again.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Really appreciate it, Sam.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you. And best of luck at UTMB and Backyard.
We're going to be watching.
Yeah, it's going to be a big year, so just keep your eyes peeled.
We sure will. Thank you so much, Sam.
All right.
All right. Peace.
Bye. And that was Sam Harvey, fresh off his 100-mile win at Tarawera in New Zealand.
Wow, incredible. I like how they're all still together at the boat ride, which happens at the 50K mark. For those who don't know the race, you take a 2-minute boat ride across Lake
Rotomahana?
Rotomahana. Yeah, it's hard to say. But there were 7 of them in that boat, I think.
That's some intimidation factor, sizing each other up.
If I was the driver of that boat, I would have some beer on ice there, waiting for anybody's.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be responsible for the reason the guy didn't win the race is because he had one too many in the boat. Holy cow.
But yeah, since then, he pulled away at the 55K mark.
But that is a long time to be alone.
It is.
Woo.
And then he was able to catch the 100K at the back of the pack 100Kers. And then, yeah, he was able to chat with them for a while.
Still, I don't like that feeling of being alone for so long. You feel like you're either off course or something's gone wrong. Or
yeah, you don't feel that you're in a race.
No, you don't.
And yeah, I've been in some races where I was alone for a good 6-7 hours in the middle of the night.
Ooh.
Which is through the night.
Right.
And you think back, well,
what am I doing here?
What was all that about?
Meanwhile, there was someone probably 200 meters behind. You just didn't see their
That's
headlamp.
right. We were exactly the same distance the entire 6 hours, which is interesting.
Oh, yeah.
If I just would have stopped, and we would have done the whole thing together.
That's right. Oh, you got to love this sport.
Oh, God. Anyway, he became the first Kiwi.
That's right. And we're going to see what he does at UTMB and Backyard.
Yeah. Can't wait for that. Well, when he gets there, it's going to be a lot of hype. But I'm sure he's going to enjoy. He's going to have a good time.
For sure.
And hope to see him in Canada one day.
Oh, he'll make it here one day. We may not be on the top of everyone's priority list, but once they're here, they love us.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well, thanks for listening. If you could take a moment now and like, subscribe, review on whatever platform you are listening to us on, it would greatly be appreciated. It means a lot. and it helps us in the end. Head on over to GottaRunRacing.com if you want to sign up for any of our races or virtual events. GottaRunRacing.com.
Until next time.
Cheers.